somebody came to me and said that they had been sexually assaulted, the first thing I would say is, don't blame yourself. And that's the hardest thing to overcome. It's the hardest thing to admit that there's nothing you could have done to prevent it. It's the hardest thing to admit that there's nothing you could potentially do to prevent it from happening again. The second thing I would say is never stop reaching out. Never stop reaching out and trying to connect with other people. The isolation is what will kill you. And finding other survivors, finding those support systems, whether it be family members, friends, or complete strangers, that is what will bring you to healing. There is no rush to heal. There's no time limit. You shouldn't think, oh, I want to be better before I go home for Christmas and visit my family. Oh, I want to be better before I get married, or I want to be better before this time. Healing is a process, and it's something you have to give yourself grace to complete. I would also say counseling is the most important thing. Counseling is so important so that you can come to terms with the trauma you've experienced. And it is trauma. And just recognizing it for what it is, and recognizing that your story is important and your story means something and matters. I would say all of those things. One of the main things, especially in Texas, is the abstinence-only culture, which allows sexual assault to prevail. We have no formal form of sex education. We're not teaching people how to give and receive consent. We're not teaching people how do you say no? How do you get out of those situations without hurting anyone's feelings or without damaging a friendship or a relationship? We live in a culture where women are expected to be the moral, upstanding side of a relationship. There's this culture of boys will be boys and men can't control themselves, and women have to guard their hearts and guard themselves against things like sexual assault. And even I've had family members who have told me, well, this just tells you what sort of people you shouldn't be hanging out with. But that's not the answer. The answer is teaching the perpetrators that this is wrong and that there are punishments and that they will be punished to the fullest extent of the law. We see these examples of people who obviously, by any standard, committed sexual assault, and yet they get away with it, and it just teaches people down the line that this is okay. And so I think as a culture, and especially as a legislature, we need to have a bipartisan effort to say, this is not okay, and we're not going to let this happen to the women and the men of our country.